and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of Strength at Length. Today we're going to be talking about pre-workout. As always, I'm your host, Nick McQuik. Joining me is the number one name in strength and conditioning in the Edmonton area, Jeff Garossino from GK Performance.
Hey guys.
Just before we get into it, guys, up top somewhere there's a button you can click to turn on live notifications. If you do that, you can watch a video live. We go on every Wednesday, and then you can jump in with questions and stuff and call us out when we're wrong, because we love that. But yeah, today we're talking about pre-workout. So just the name pre-workout, before workout, the thing that you like doing. So you take it before a workout.
That's correct.
And there's so many different types, so many different brands of it. When somebody goes in and they're buying a pre-workout, what should they be looking for?
So there is a lot of different pre-workouts and a lot of different kinds of ingredients. The big things I always tell people to look for is, depending, if you take creatine monohydrate, then don't worry about it, because it does not matter if it's pre-workout, post-workout, or in the middle of the night. So if you don't have a creatine product, make sure that your pre-workout has creatine, and then you're taken care of. But the big ones that really contribute pre-workout, caffeine, beta-alanine, again, that's one that doesn't have to be taken pre-workout as long as you're getting it sufficiently throughout the day. Yeah. But most people don't buy beta-alanine on its own, so look for a pre-workout with it in it.
Yeah.
Betaine is a really well-researched, and it's a really good supplement to help out. And it kind of depends from there sort of what your goals are. If you're looking to build muscle, if you're looking for a big pump, if you're looking for that kind of stuff, then you're looking into like citrulline and different things like that.
Now, citrulline is one of those things that actually breaks down in the body and becomes nitrous oxide, right?
Yeah, it converts to L-arginine. But the thing is arginine itself doesn't actually increase arginine in the body.
Yeah.
So it's not a good form of it. So citrulline goes in and is broken down, becomes L-arginine, and increases nitric oxide.
That's something a lot of people don't understand. Like, if you were to get a human growth hormone and eat it, it would do nothing whatsoever, because your stomach acid would just destroy it.
Exactly.
So you can't, some things you need to ingest and have a chemical reaction for it to enter your body.
Yeah,
so
bioavailability is a huge thing when it comes to supplements, right? Certain things are digested differently, certain things they compete for uptake in the body. So it really does depend. There's not always the most obvious thing is going to help out.
So the thing that I always see when people take a pre-workout for the first time is they just get this huge buzz. They're just raw, ready to go, bristling with energy, and they feel like they've just leveled up, so to speak. But that I found, because I've broken it all down. I've tried just like beta-alanine. I've tried just going and getting everything in pill form and some in powder form and just trying it all. And I figured out what that is. It's just the caffeine.
Basically, yeah.
That's what you're taking.
Which is awesome. Caffeine is a terrific pre-workout. It's one of the things, I mean, unless you're sensitive to caffeine or you want to add your own caffeine to it or anything like that, caffeine is like one of the most tried and true, one of the most researched supplements out there as far as mental performance, anti-fatigue. It helps with focus. It helps with power output. Like, it's awesome stuff. Now,
I've heard with some people that the pre-workout, they only take it for like their more intense workout sessions. Some people they cycle on and off of it, like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. For me personally, I don't have any caffeine, no stimulants in my pre-workouts, but that's sometimes because I'm working out at 2 a.m. and I need to go to sleep eventually. So what sort of practice do you recommend with a pre-workout?
So this is kind of the thing with pre-workout is some companies will try to just do the shotgun approach where they'll put 40 different things in there, and that doesn't really work the best. So the
Sounds
thing is,
expensive.
yeah, well, it can be. Again, it's one of those things where, like, if your pre-workout is your only source of creatine and beta-alanine, well, those aren't really things that are meant to be cycled off of. You can, but they don't need to be. Caffeine, on the other hand, for certain things, caffeine has a lot of different effects in the body, and some of those effects you don't need to cycle off to maintain. However, that big spike in energy and that boost in athletic performance, you do, it will start to delay and it will start to not work as well.
You get sort of a resistance built up to it.
Yeah, you build a tolerance to caffeine quite easily.
Yeah.
So you do want to cycle off caffeine if that's the effect you're looking for. So it kind of depends on the pre-workout you're taking, and it depends on what you're taking it for. Again, if you want a big pump and that's more what you're looking for, something like this product where there is no caffeine in it, you don't need to cycle off of that, in my opinion, right? Something that's, again, like a higher stimulant-based kind of product, you're probably going to want to cycle off so that it maintains effectiveness.
Well, then that brings me to another thing. If you're working out and you have like a program that you're working out in, where you're in a certain week where you have very intense lifts, and then you have a certain week where it's much lower weight at like higher volumes to try and get that pump.
Yep.
Would you recommend like adjusting supplements within a program?
I mean, that's pretty hardcore. You certainly could. Like, for most people, I'll tell them, like, don't even think about pre-workout until you've worked out for a year consistently. Meaning, like, twice a week, 3 times, whatever your program calls for, but, like, you don't miss a day for a full year. Then you can start thinking about it. So if you're already at that level where you're talking about, like, changing that, I mean, yeah, there will be effect to that. The one that I'll say is if you do a deload week, so obviously a decrease in volume and a decrease in intensity, don't take your pre-workout. There's no point. You're trying to get an easy workout in is the point of it, so why would you take something to amp you up for a harder workout?
Well, and that brings me to something, too. With the pre-workout, it's not going to do it for you. It's one of those things.
No, absolutely
You can't just take pre-workout, sit down, play Xbox, and have a six-pack.
Exactly,
As wonderful as it would be for me to say, buy this product and you'll have a six-pack, like somebody else on YouTube will say, it's hard work, and it's a supplement, so it supplements that. Yeah. So if you are feeling sick or you're exhausted and you're going to the gym and you're taking this, you're probably not going to get the full benefit of it.
Exactly. If you're already exhausted or you've been run down for a couple weeks and you're still trying to go in and hammer weights, taking pre-workout, it's like, no, like that's the point of deloads. Any good coach knows at certain points in time, you need to deload. You need to give the body a break to recover for super compensation, and then you start ramping up your program again. And just like you said, like, it does not do it for you. The majority of good ingredients in a pre-workout have to do with anti-fatigue, meaning you actually have to work your ass off to get fatigue so that it's, delayed, and then you can work harder. So just taking it and then doing 3 sets of 10 on a couple exercises and thinking, like, no, that's not how it works. It's meant to let you work harder, not just do it for you while you do your normal workout, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, I've seen some interesting stuff in the past with this, and I don't know exactly your thoughts on this, but I've seen somebody take 2 scoops of pre-workout, put it in a shaker cup, and then pour a Monster Energy drink in. On the back, they usually say recommended dose. Is there any, there are lots of things are overseen by an agency to make sure that we don't have ephedrine and caffeine in the same thing. But is there any sort of because there's chronic side effects that can be detrimental, but is there any sort of immediate overdose?
I mean, if you take too much caffeine, it can certainly cause different kinds of issues with your digestive system, and you can get diarrhea and stuff like that. So, but that's you got to take a lot. Now some people do get jittery, even heart palpitations. If you're really sensitive to caffeine and you start taking beyond the upper limit, which is quite a bit. Most studies show 4 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, which your average person that comes out to around 300 to 600 milligrams kind of thing, depending on your size and male, female, things like that. But that being said, if you took something like this where there's no caffeine in it, there's, a little bit of vitamin B3 and a little bit of vitamin B12 and some folate, and you mix that with a Monster, I'm not promoting it, but at the same time, a Monster's a pretty reasonable amount of caffeine. There's a little bit of B vitamins and some taurine. It's probably not going to hurt you. It doesn't mean you should do it, but it should be fine. But again, if you take a pre-workout with 400 milligrams of caffeine in it, I think it's Mr. Hyde or whatever, and then you mix a Monster with that, it's okay, now you're starting to play with
now you're
fire
getting into that upper limit there.
So you just, know what you're ingesting, right?
Well, and then also some people have different sensitivity to stimulants.
Exactly.
So if somebody gets lightheaded off a cup of coffee, you're probably not going to want any sort of stimulant in your pre-workout.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just there's going to be so much individual variance on it because caffeine is one of those things that's been around for so long. Yeah. But that being said, there are certain ingredients in pre-workout that kind of complement each other and work with each other. I'm totally spacing. What is it? If you were just to take nitrous oxide and not take anything that makes sort of a bioavailability of it. Would you get the same effects or?
Well, I mean, there is, like, you can't just take nitric oxide. It's either going to be L-arginine, citrulline malate, or what's the other one? I
Yeah, I
can't
know
think of
that.
it. There is one more. Basically, take citrulline malate. It's the best one. You can take the other ones, and a lot of products still put arginine in. I don't know why. There's no research to back it up.
Bro
It was,
science.
it was what they did, 10 years ago, because nobody really knew about citrulline malate. So
Yeah.
people will still buy it. A lot of pre-workouts and a lot of supplements in general is still marketing schemes, right?
Yeah.
People look for arginine because they think it's going to boost their nitric oxide. Well, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't happen. So
I suppose we should say what nitrous oxide does.
yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
right?
that's because in my personal experience, nitrous oxide has really helped with the pump sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's where the muscle just sort of feels like it's swelling, increasing in size, and you can sort of feel your pulse in
Yep.
your muscle a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think scientifically, it's just you're able to get more blood quicker.
Yeah, primarily it's a vasodilator, so it essentially just opens up your veins and your arteries and allows more blood to get into the muscle, right? It also does assist with clearing ammonia as well, so again, it's going to be anti-fatigue as well. That could be a little off on that. That might just be specific to citrulline malate, but I think it's the fact that L-citrulline converts to nitric oxide that does it.
Okay.
But it does delay fatigue because of the clearance of ammonia.
So that's probably the thing that I was confused on, because I always noticed if I was doing like 5 sets, I could always just bang out like a 6th set.
Yeah, and again, that's like most of the things in pre-workout have to do with somehow delaying fatigue.
Yeah.
So whether it's caffeine helping more with like the mental fatigue side of things, or citrulline, converting nitric oxide, clearing ammonia, delaying fatigue. Beta-alanine buffers, it converts to carnosine and buffers acid in the muscle. So that again delays fatigue. Everything is kind of meant to push fatigue later and later and later.
Yeah.
So whether it's an aerobic type workout where you're going for a jog of high intensity, I guess,
Yeah.
or more anaerobic type stuff. Now again, if you're taking citrulline and beta-alanine and all that kind of stuff, and you're going in and doing like a Bulgarian type method workout where you're just working up to heavy singles all day and you don't ever do any type of bodybuilding work, for lack of a better term, it's not going to do anything. Like the fatigue,
You're not going to get to that level.
yeah, the fatigue in a 1 rep max is nervous system fatigue. It's not that your body is full of ammonia and everything from too many metabolites, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's the nervous system fatigue, is the caffeine taking the adenosine receptors up in your brain and just kind of blocking that off for a while. But that is one thing you're talking about. It just pushes off fatigue.
yeah.
You're still going to hurt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's meant to let you hurt more, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things in pre-workout have been shown to, anecdotally help with soreness, but there's not really, it's hard to actually study the mechanisms behind, like, why something would make you less sore. So there's not a whole ton of science behind it, but there is a lot of people that do say, like, when they take different kinds of pre-workout type ingredients, that they do feel less sore in the next day or two.
Yeah. Well, like you said, clearing out ammonia and everything will definitely help with that.
Yeah.
So one thing that I don't know the science behind, but I never did. Anytime that I had like a match or any sort of like sporting event that I was involved in, I did not take any pre-workout before it.
Yep.
Because I just went in, I tried to kind of cycle off of it before and just go in as natural as I could. What would sort of be the effects of like going into, let's say, like a football game or a boxing match on pre-workout?
So it kind of depends. I would never say to take caffeine before any type of workout like that, or not workout, but any kind of sporting event, just for the simple fact that it does have a mild diuretic effect. Now, the more caffeine you ingest, the less that diuretic effect happens, and the more frequently you take it, it starts to taper off more and more. But still, the last thing you want to do is, you're an 18-year-old kid, you take a bunch of caffeine before a football game, which is going to last 2 hours, not an hour or an hour and a half even, right? It's a long time. And you're playing in plus 25 with the sun, you're already sweating, it's a diuretic, and you pull your hamstring. So I would be careful with stuff like that. Now, the other thing, too, is certain ingredients in there, again, like beta-alanine's pretty good, but something like citrulline, depending what your sporting event is, like if you did boxing or MMA, that is not something where you want to get pumped up. You do not want to have a giant shoulder and arm pump while you're trying to keep your hands up in front of your face.
It's going to have a negative effect on mobility.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
There's some issues with that, plus the fact that you're going to get more tired from more blood being stuck in there, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a lot of science behind it, but just if something that increases the pump, it helps with anti-fatigue, but it also assist you in getting a bigger pump, which is not what you want. So it kind of depends again on the ingredient. Creatine, awesome. Beta-alanine, awesome.
Yeah.
But those are two things you don't have to take before a game anyways.
Just
make sure you have it. Exactly, right?
So with this, I always like to kind of just draw a big spectrum because we don't really know all of the audience. But like if you're going up and you're training for a physique or bodybuilding show.
Yep.
Like, when do you put this into your routine? When do you take it out? When you're cutting weights? Do you...
I am not too sure actually on the idea behind the cutting weight. That's kind of a good question.
Because I don't think much with the pre-workout, like for getting nitrous into your system, getting creatine into your system, you'll retain a little bit of water there. But I don't think it would affect too much retention or anything. I think that you'd see a lot of positive effects going into it, and then you'd probably want to cycle off it 3 to 4 weeks.
I would probably say so, and especially for the reason that, like, if you're actually going into a competition, your workouts, anybody who's done a competition knows that they're not all that great. You're ultra low calorie. Usually, most guys are doing way too much cardio that's sustainable, and the pumps aren't going to be great. You're manipulating water and sodium intake, all kinds of things like that. So you might not really want to mess around with something like this. Other than that, pre-contest, though, I mean, it's something you can take year-round if you want. If you don't need it, don't take it. If you need it, take it. I do tell people, like, I don't think it's the best thing to take it. If you work out 6 days a week, I don't always say, like, 6 days a week, hammer it all the time.
You need recovery.
Take it for a little bit more of those intense workouts. Yeah, especially with the caffeine, unless you're going to cycle off. Like, I like to take it for more intense workouts only sort of thing.
For me, I always like to kind of build up. I plateau up and then have my deload, and then coming out of a deload, or if I'm switching up programming and going into a different phase of programming, I always like to come in with it just to kind of give me increased strength in sort of something that I'm just trying to adapt to.
Yeah,
like that's usually a good time. But the one thing that I really want to hammer home is it's pre-workout. So if there's any sports or anything, like that is definitely
I don't think it's a great idea. Again, I haven't seen a whole lot of research on it, so if somebody wants to look into it, go ahead. But yeah, I never have, I never would. I would never recommend it to any of my athletes to take. I don't recommend it for them to take pre-workout anyways, right? Most of my guys are pretty young; they don't need it. But no, it's meant to do during a workout. The last thing you want is some kind of adverse effect, and you're in the middle of a fight or a football game or a hockey game or something like that, and you start getting cramps or whatever, right? So
now I know some people they'll work they'll go to work and then go to the gym afterwards and then go home and try and sleep. When about do you think, like before your workout, how much time do you need to take this? Because I've seen some people taking them while they're at the gym working out.
Yeah, so that again kind of depends. I have a somewhat lengthy warm up, so I usually tend to take mine like just before I warm up, kind of thing. If you're one of those guys who doesn't believe in warm ups, you're insane. But do what you got to do. So if you're one of those people that just jumps in, throws a plate on the bench, and starts going at it, then you should probably drink it about a half hour to 45 minutes before.
Yeah.
I personally, like I said, I like to take it right when I get there, and then it kind of gives me a little bit of energy throughout. It kicks in kind of after my warm-up is the idea. So, but it's usually half hour to 45 minutes before the workout.
I always notice when and this makes it sound like heroin, when I'm coming down off of it, it sort of is in steps. Like I'll notice that the rush of energy and everything goes away, but the mental focus seems to be the longest lasting for me on it.
Okay.
And that's usually about 2.5 hours to 3 hours before that's gone. So like if I'm trying to get to bed at 10, I'll want to make sure that at latest I have it at 7.
Yeah, and again, that totally depends on the person. Depends how sensitive you are. Yeah. Stimulants especially is the big one, but anything else, everybody has different sensitivities, different tolerances to all that kind of stuff. So you got to play with it. You got to find what works for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, thanks for watching. We do this every Wednesday. Turn on notifications, and if we didn't answer anything that you guys have, if you have any additional questions, there's a little comment thing down there. Type in stuff there, and we'll try and figure it out. Anyway, guys, keep on pre-working out.
Thanks, guys.